Hey guys, welcome back to Pimp Your ARF. Today, it's day of primering, getting our surfaces nice and clean, getting them ready to put the paint on. We're getting close. I've got my control surfaces, at least one side of them currently, covered with my first coat of filler primer. So Rust-Oleum, I'm using the filler primer. This is a primer that fills in all the voids, all the cracks. It took about 10 minutes for it to dry. And look at that, dried to the touch. I'm going to give it about an hour before I sand it, hour and a half, but I can easily do the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip them all over. I'm going to make sure I get dust off of here. Let's just get them all flipped over. Any dust, get rid of any dust. And these are going to be real simple. Watch how fast this goes. What you want to do is put a light coat on. It's not very heavy. Pull up your clean good. Again, we've got that filler primer Rust-Oleum. Just do a light dusting on this. Doesn't have to go on too heavy. Just enough to get one good coat. And there you have it. We're all done. Primered. I did take some time getting that final sanding done before putting the primer down. All the fiberglass, all the poly coats, all the sanding got us to the area where we really need to deal with what we're doing here and get things real clean. You can see we've got it completely covered in primer. It's that primer filler. I did do one of the control surfaces along with the Bondo, so I'm going to show you this today. I'm going to show you how I got it to this point where we have a real nice, super smooth area, and that's ready to go. We're almost to that part where we're going to start enjoying this, at least I will. So what I'm going to start sanding this with is the medium sanding block, which is a 180 grit. It's about 180. And I'll finish up with a 220. Most of this stuff you sand off. Is the low spots will keep the primer in place, so I can start seeing where my high spots and low spots are. And I know on this fuselage, I can even feel it. I got a low spot right there. That's where we're going to take this glaze putty, the spot putty, or the lightweight, and we're just going to coat this one time. It'll get into the low areas, and we'll sand it smooth, and then you don't feel that any longer. So you can see how easy this stuff sands. Ultimately, we're sanding it right back up. This has filled in now all the scratches. This has filled all the cracks in. And now it starts exposing where all of our low areas are. Yeah, we can see it, we can feel it, but this really shows it. This is how it's done with cars when they do automotive finishing. I can see right here, I got high spots here, or you can look at it as a low spot here. That's the difference, high and low. And we just keep on going. Now, once that starts getting filled in, hit a couple of those together, you're right back in business. The best results you're going to get is putting time into this part right here, this sanding and this filling. If you've done it right and you've taken your time between coats and sanding everything, by this point it shouldn't be too difficult to be sanding this primer. I'm pretty happy. This thing's looking really nice. I put enough effort into all the fiberglassing and the sanding between coats and the last sanding before putting the primer on, so that made it very beneficial. That made it easy for me to sand, not worry about, and all the little low spots are pretty much getting filled in with the primer. I'm doing one more final hit right now with a 220, and that allows me just to kind of see where I'm going to be putting the primer in. I'm not seeing a lot of low spots at all. The primer has filled in any real minor low spots because it is a filler primer, and it's filled because we'll be putting this glazing spot putty on by 3M to fill in any other little voids, dips, unevenness. But you don't want dust getting in that. It kind of clumps up. So all I'm doing is just clean this off, and I'm just looking for dips so I know where my stuff is. Like, I got a pretty bad one right here. So I got one area right here. Watch how you do this. It's pretty simple. I'm going to get a squeegee. Got a little squeegee. And right in this area, I've got a really big dip, and I've been noticing that one throughout the build. So this is how I like to do it. Just put a little glob on there. Get the squeegee. And that's it. I'll just sand that, and I might have to put a couple coats. I don't know how big it is. I think I got it off. And I'm just looking as I have this in my hand. I'll look for some others. You can also put it on with your finger. See a little bit right there. Put it on thick. It's okay. Stuff sands off very, very quickly. It doesn't weigh anything either. So the trick is to get that high area, get stuff to smooth around that high area. And that's what I noticed there. I had a little bit of a high area. It's looking really good. It's actually better than I thought. I'm seeing little tiny areas here and there. Now this stuff's already hardening, believe it or not. It doesn't take any time for this to harden. So, a little bit on my hand. Again, same areas. I'm just hitting any of these low areas that are just really standing out. But you know, I took my time. The overlaps, I don't feel anything on the overlaps. Those are all smooth. I'm pretty happy. Okay, right here, you can see there's a high area, and there's my low area right in the middle. So, I'm going to clean up that edge of that squeegee so I don't get any particles. And here, we'll do a big area right here. So I'm putting that in the low area. Take the squeegee and give it twice. 1, 2. There we go. That was that low area. That cleaned that right up. Alright, so we just keep doing this to all the areas that are low, or any high areas that we want to blend out into. Don't worry about putting too much on. You can always sand it off. Alright, we're close. Alright, so we've got the putty all down. It's dried. It's been about maybe hour and a half to 2 hours since we put the glazing spot putty on. And this is, these are where all the dips were. And now it is about as flat and smooth as it gets. That's a final piece right there before we start the panel lines. Well, it looks like a mess, but believe it or not, that is just as smooth as it gets. I don't really think you can even see that, but boy, I like it. Spot putty's real simple. It sands very quick. I'm using 220. You want to come down here and take a look, even by hand. Just hit it up a little bit. My hand's fairly flat. And there it is. There was that dip that we had right there. Stuff does get everywhere. You can see these are done. Here's another one. We'll do one more real quick just so you can see how quick this stuff is. I'm sanding directly on top of it, kind of knocking it down, and then I start just moving around the outside of it. There's my void filled in. Again, same thing. Start on top, move around, and there's my void filled in. Stuff it's real soft, but it does the trick. And one more just for giggles. Even put a little bit on a little area I had here. Found a little low spot on there. Nice and smooth. Found another one over here. And there it is, filled in. You can see all the areas that were low. All right. So there we go. We are finished with sanding the primer. Next thing we're going to be doing is panel it. I can't wait. That's my favorite part. See you in a bit.